Today we're going to tie the Mosquito. We usually use just one feather, and it'll usually be a grizzly hackle. So we'll get started. Get your thread onto your hook. I'm using a size 12.
Don't forget to switch that camera so we can see the vise.
There we go. Is that better?
Excellent, thank you.
And for the tail on these, we're going to use the longer ends of this grizzly hackle. So you'll want to pull off a few of them. And I usually measure about half the hook length. And then on this, we use the stem of the feather. So we'll have to strip off a bunch of the feather.
Notice how he's pulling those fibers down towards the base of the feather. They come off real easy in that direction.
And then on the longer ones that you have left over, you can actually keep over and use for the tails. So then all you'll have is just the bare stem. So you'll tie that on. Run your thread back up. And then you'll take and wind the stem around the shank of the hook. Sometimes you'll see these are tied with an extra feather for wings, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to put on the hackle and just do a hackle. So you'll take a hackle, peel off a little bit of the feather so you can tie it to your hook. Cut the excess stem off. And then you'll wrap your hackle. Tie it off. And then whip finish. And I usually put just a little dab of head cement on the head. And that is the Mosquito. Real easy one to tie. So if we all will grab our largest hook, and we'll put it in the vise. Okay. Now we'll get our thread started.
Looks like we're all ready to roll.
Okay. So now we'll take our feather, get a few of the longest fibers for making of the tail. Grab them down towards the base and pull. And they'll come right off. So then you'll get something that looks kind of like that. Measure half of the hook shank. And tie it on. I usually stop just before the bend of the hook, just like so. And then cut your excess fiber off.
Like we're wrapping up. Hey, Gene, would you mind muting yourself, please? Keeps picking up some of your background sounds there. Looks like everyone's ready.
Okay. So now we'll take our feather, strip it down just to the stem, pull all the fibers off. Okay, then you'll tie it on. And you want to run your thread back to about the halfway point.
I think they're all ready.
Okay. Now you'll wrap your stem. Got to watch when you slip, they'll want to run itself back off. Sometimes hackle pliers will help when you do this part. Okay, we all ready? Okay. Now we'll tie our hackle on. And then we'll run our hackle. And then you'll whip finish.
I guess we didn't talk much about dry flies, but this is really our first dry fly of the season. And in case you don't know, dry flies are going to float on the surface, or at least that's our intention. The hooks are a narrower gauge of steel, I guess. You know, it's a lightweight hook, and to help it float, and you want to use a little less thread if you can. And it's these hackle fibers are really what's going to help this fly to float. They just create, they spread the weight out on the surface, really, I guess is what they do. But so you want to make sure you get a good, what do you have, maybe 6 or so wraps of that hackle there?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 wraps, somewhere around in there.
Yeah.
And the stems are, when you do the stems, that also, I think, helps with some of the buoyancy too. When you wrap the stem onto the tail end of it on this back piece.